Hey yo, YouTube, what's up? It's your boy Louis Saifir. Long time no see, of course. Over the weekend, Sam Seder and Tim Pool had their little debate, their little powwow, and they discussed everything from under the sun, from Donald Trump's supposed impeachment to Mahoney's alleged confession that there was in fact quid pro quo, to environmentalism, to left-wing politics, polling data. They really went deep into it for an hour and 30 minutes, and it was great. I think Sam held his own as he always does, and Tim surprisingly did a phenomenal job. He also held his own, and I could only attribute to that because Tim knows himself. Tim knows his morality. Tim knows his statistical and his logistical data, and how they fit into a mishmash of what we understand is the world today. Now, it was just a debate. It was just another debate, right? And I wouldn't even be saying anything if it wasn't for the most useless person on YouTube, Michael Brooks, chiming in with his usual turgid, sophomoric, idiotic take on the whole thing. Like, Michael Brooks did the ultimate sin. He badmouthed the connection between pop culture and politics, which is why I'm here before you now. Michael Brooks, in his review of this thing, he took a clip and he did his usual shtick of tactical laughter, snide derision, snark, and 20 or 30 minutes of ongoing conversations about his emotional state, about how cringy it was and how hard it is for him to do X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, wow, what a fucking hack. What a complete and total fraud. Pop culture, at least comic book pop culture, is a candy coating upon which that we could discuss tough issues like deontology, utilitarianism, Randian objectivism. It's a candy coating that we could discuss these things without taking the things too personal, that we could still respect each other while we talk about someone wiping out 1 trillion people. See, Michael Brooks wouldn't know that because his first goal is to disrespect and denigrate his interlocutor. So it's his usual tactic to talk down to people, and he can't do it if they're talking about comic books and metaphors and archetypes and heroes and villains, and you get the idea. It brings Michael Brooks out of his element, so he has to talk down to people for him to make himself feel better. We all learned how to tactically laugh at people that we don't like when we were all in kindergarten. It's so sad to see that a grown man still uses that tactic, but that's neither here nor there. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to lay out the best points that Tim Pool had against Sam Seder, one by one, and I'm going to add a few points of my own. So, let's get this straight. Donald Trump is not getting arrested. He's not getting frog-marched out of the White House. He's not a Russian asset. He's not going to be impeached by the Republicans. The Republicans are going to hold firm. Sam said that, yeah, fine. He might not be impeached by the Republicans. We might be able to get 1 or 2. But the important thing, the most important thing, the greatest utility, the ultimate goal is to promote negative partisanship in the election booth. I don't even think he's right on that part, because even if negative partisanship was the driving goal behind 2016 and 2018 Democratic uprising, that was specifically done because we had suffered through terroristic acts by white nationalists days, weeks, maybe even hours before the election. That's where the negative partisanship came from. That's where the negative politics came from, not Donald Trump himself. We're talking about Heather Heyer, we're talking about Pennsylvania, and we're talking about the guy that tried to bomb CNN. That's where your negative partisanship came from, not the fact that Donald Trump is in making the economy better, that he elected Kavanaugh, all that. No. Furthermore, I would go so far as to say that the prospects of the Democrats having to run a 2020 campaign on the possibility of saying that we have to go back into Syria, that we have to open up our borders and give every last immigrant who crosses our borders universal health care, that's where the next wave of negative partisanship is going to come from. Not because Donald Trump said some questionable rhetoric as to China assisting him in taking down Joe Biden. That's where your negative partisanship is going to come from. Trying to get us back into Syria after we done left the motherfucker. And about this whole thing about the Ukrainian thing, look, to put it in the most simplest terms, Donald Trump's Mulvaney, whatever, acting Secretary General, he laid out a sandwich in which the bread was no one else is helping us pay for Ukraine. The lettuce was there's criminality, there's a corrupt government. And the baloney in the middle of all that was the 2016 election and possibly Joe Biden's role in it. So there's a schism. You either believe that Donald Trump wanted to investigate 2016 despite the fact that Biden was there, or you believe that Donald Trump was investigating 2016 through Rudy Giuliani specifically because Biden was there. That is the schism, and I don't know if you're going to get every last Democrat to go down that line and saying, yeah, he only investigated 2016 because Biden is such a pivotal force. That's baloney. As a matter of fact, Joe Biden and his diminishing freaking political options and cocaine Hunter Biden are peppercorns inside the bologna. They're not even the main dish, all right? So forget that. The whole thing is predicated on promoting negative partisanship. And that's when it hits me. Negative partisanship is the apex goal of the left wing now. It's okay to call Tulsi Gabbard a Russian agent, a Russian bot, because she is diminishing the negativity. She's diminishing the prospects of angry Democrats showing up to vote because they don't want to go back to war either. They don't want these expansionist nation-building wars. She has to go. And the best way to do that is to besmirch her name. It's okay to make people terrified that their government is being run by a Russian operative, that we are living in some kind of twisted John Grisham novel. Because Donald Trump is an ultra-capitalist and he is standing in the way of a utopian ideal, socialism. He has to go, and negative partisanship is the best way to do it. That's the utility. It's okay to walk away from the scientific method and tell academics that if you do not comply with scientific consensus instead of the scientific method, we will destroy you. We will destroy your reputation, and we will eliminate your employment outcomes in any field that we find you in. Negative partisanship. It's okay to tell young children that they're about to die because global warming, because the sun supposedly doesn't heat the earth more than greenhouse gases. Negative partisanship. Sam Seder said it plainly. He's promoting negative partisanship. CNN is promoting negative partisanship. MSNBC is promoting negative partisanship. And yeah, I guess if Fox News ever gets another Democrat inside the White House, they'll be promoting negative partisanship too. But just understand, none of these arguments are scientifically based, and your fear and your irrationality is their greatest asset. So what I'm going to tell you right now is that, let's cut the negativity out a little bit. And the beautiful thing about comic books is it's a perfect tool to talk about negative partisanship without wanting to slap the shit out of Michael Brooks. It's your boy Louis Fear signing out.